So I went to the range, and with the Delta, 30 power Delta on the 457 CZ457, and tested out one, two, three, four, five, six different types of ammo. There are four brands, but 6 different types. 2 different types of the Hornady, 2 different types of CCI, 1 type of Federal, 1 type of Winchester. Mixed results. So I'll go into more detail as to what the situation is there and how the accuracy testing went and all that malarkey in a minute. But first of all, I'll do what I promised I would do in the last video, and that is do a comparison of the 455 and the 457. Now, as far as, let's start with the stocks. The 455 and the 457, I actually thought that it is a little bit longer. I don't want to scratch them. The 457, I don't know if you can see that, is a little bit longer and straighter. By straighter I mean, if I put it on this side, the buttstock on the 455 Lux is a real hog's back affair, really sloping downwards in a radius, whereas the 457, as you can see, is quite a lot straighter, which I prefer. I think the hog's back affair it's nice, it looks nice, and it is a little bit longer, not a whole lot longer, only about, I don't know what, let's see, let's do a comparison, probably, I don't know, maybe half an inch. So it's not a whole lot longer, but it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Now, the wood on the, so this is the 455 Lux. That light is really bright, so if I'm squinting or look a bit weird, that's because it's really bright. The wood on the 455 Lux is pretty, it's nice, but it's pretty well plain Jane. And that's the Lux, so, you know, it's supposed to be a little bit better than the 455 American, and the wood on that is better and nicer than the 455 American that I had. Whereas this is the 457 American, and the wood on this is a really nice walnut. I don't know if the light can, but from about there down, we've got some really nice striping in the walnut. The checkering on the 455, there is none on the foregrip, and it's quite plain on the hand grip. Whereas on the 457, you've got checkering either side of the hand grip. You've got checkering either side of the foregrip and at the bottom as well. And they all have it's not really a fleur-de-lis, but it's very similar to fleur-de-lis inset pattern at the ends. It's very, very nice. The fitting of the butt, yeah, it's about the same. It's not perfect, of the butt pad. Let's see. Now, one big difference with the stocks is that the 457 actually has a recoil lug. I'm assuming it's a recoil lug. I can't think of what else it would be. It's certainly not a locating device because it's quite sloppy in there. So, yeah. The 457 is pillar bedded. Okay. So is it an alloy or steel? Sort of. I'm not going to scratch it, but it's metal. So you've got metal pillars in the stock with the 457. And so the 457 American is technically a lower grade than the 455 Lux, but realistically the 457 American is a higher grade than the 455 Lux. Whereas the old 455s, I was wrong. I said that there was no finish in the cutout. There is. I don't think I haven't touched this up at all. So you do have finish inside the action cutout. where it's been routed, but not only is there no pillaring, but you can't pillar because because the actual screw mounting holes are actually the actual cutout for the action routes about 1/3 of the hole out, so the holes are actually open, so you can't pillar bed it. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but the 457 is pillar bedded, so as far as comparisons 1 to 457. Now I'll just mention I'm having a beer because it's stinking hot. It's really humid, like really. It's only 27 degrees Celsius, which is about 80 in the low 80s, 83 or something Fahrenheit, 82 Fahrenheit or something like that, which is not hot, especially here, but it is so humid. I've got the overhead fan going, so if you do hear a bit of that, sorry. But I'm drinking Hoegaarden, the original Belgian wheat beer. This has been brewed for a very hundreds of years. It almost sort of died out, but it was brung back from the grave. Its proper pronunciation in Flemish is Hoegaarden, I believe. I've been told by people who lived in Belgium, and it's fantastic. If you haven't tried Hoegaarden, I'll call it Hoegaarden for the people who don't know. That is a fantastic beer, I have to tell you. It foams up a lot because it's naturally carbonated because it is re-fermented in the bottle. That's why it's also a little bit cloudy. It's brewed with orange peel and coriander, and the taste is sensational. A lot of Belgian beers have coriander in them, and yeah, and I've brewed beers with coriander in them, and the effect is excellent. So let's get back to the rifles. So as far as stocks are concerned, the 457 wins out. So 10457. Next, bottom medals. Okay. The old 455 bottom medal, which had this sort of, I suppose it's a spacer. It's got this spacer that goes in the stock, and then the bottom medal goes on top. Right up till the end of making 455s, it's just the stamped, a little bit of machining piece of sheet steel, which is crap. Whereas the 457 has a two-piece, but it is actually two pieces of machined steel. They are not stamped sheet metal. That might be, but it's still machined out. But that is definitely... Okay, so it is... no, it's machined. It might be a casting that's machined. I don't think... You don't really need to... forge a bottom trigger guard. So, I don't know. You'd have to... But it's really nice. It is a two-piece. Now, when I set the question on the last video as to why it would be two-piece, someone said that it was because of the magazine setup and rah. The magazine cutout... The magazine cutouts are exactly the same, so yeah, I don't see any credence in that idea. It might be just for cost. I don't know. Now, what else? The actual action screws are two different sizes. Let's get my little vernier out. The old 455 action screws were 4.85 millimeters, which is an odd, say 5 mil. And the 45, oh sorry, no, that's the American. Let's see if alright. Yeah, the 457 has got thinner action screws. 3/16. So Yeah, so the 457 has got a 3/16 screw, whereas the 455 is, so they've gone it's 5.8 mil as opposed to about 5 mil, 4.8 mil. So there's a millimetre difference in the screw thicknesses, diameters. What the story behind that is, don't know. With a rimfire, yeah, shouldn't make any difference, but I do prefer bigger screws. Now, so magazines are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. Bolts. Now, here's a big difference. The old 455 bolt from, let's go millimeters, from bolt face to the end of the bolt is 135 millimeters, or 5 or 5 and 5/16 inches. Alright, whereas the new 457 is it's different, completely different bolt. The rear of the bolt is completely different. Sort of, it's not, the rear of the bolt is not square; it's contoured. That is 5. Let's see, 5. I don't want to do a fraction. 5. Right. 5.15 inches, or if we go metric, it is 130. So 130 millimeters as opposed to 135. Is that right? Yeah. So there's actually not a lot of difference in the bolt length itself. There's only 5 millimeters difference in the bolt length, but the bolt handles, as you can see there, are in a completely different location. So the bolt has been redesigned a lot. It's very different. The firing pins, now this is a big difference. The firing pin on the old 455 up to and including everything before the 455 is an actual round pin of a diameter of, yeah, really tiny diameter. So probably about, let's see, probably about, I don't know, 2.5 millimeters, which is what? Which is about 3/32. Whereas the firing pin on the new 457 is, yeah, it's big. Like, it's a completely different setup. It's actually there's a slot and on top of the bolt, and the firing pin is a square profile. It's completely separate, completely different setup. The extractors are essentially very similar. They're very similar. Obviously, the 455s had the safety on the bolt. The 457s do not have the safety on the bolt. They have a conventional a la centerfire safety. And also the bolt throw on the 457 is 60 degrees up, and the bolt throw on the old everything up to the 455s is 90 degrees. So I know it was a very common complaint for CZ owners about, you know, having a problem of their bolt handle clash with the scope, with the ocular bell on the scope. So with the 457, you can mount the scope much lower if you prefer that. Some people prefer it up high, some prefer it up low. You know what? It doesn't matter to me where the scope is, high, low, whatever. You accommodate for it, you know. It's not that hard. More beer, please. Oh. Yeah, this is good. All right, so the stock is better. The bolt, I think, is better. Number one, a couple of reasons. Number one, the firing pin is a much sturdier affair. Number two, it's a much shorter bolt throw. It's 30 degrees less. So far, CZ457, 2, CZ455, and previous models, 0. So the 457 is clearly a winner there. As again, and also the bottom metal. So that's 457 3 to 455 0, and 455 and previous models 0. Let's see the safety. Yeah, the safety on the bolt is. Oh, the safety on the 455 is on the bolt itself, and all previous models had that. And the safety on the 457 is a conventional centerfire style safety. Very nice. So there we go. How many is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the 457, 0 to the 455. The triggers. Okay. Let's get down. This is getting down to the nitty gritty. The triggers. Everything up to and including the 455 had your good old, what I call it the Mauser trigger. Very basic setup. Now, once you replace that spring, you get a really light pull. So let's just have a look at where I reduced that to. Crap in there. Again with the 455. With the 455, you have to pull the trigger. The sear is the bolt release. So let's have a looky. Let's get my Lyman trigger gauge. Let's get you on. Let's see what I had it. I'll just do one pull each, roughly. Let's see what I had it to. Ready? Clear? Ready? You ready? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Alright, so that's 1 pound 4 ounces. I'll clear it again. I'll do one more. And cock it. So they are both cock on opens, I believe. Let's find out. Ready? Yes. 1 pound 3.5 ounces. So roughly 1 pound 4 ounces that I got that down to with I can't remember what brand of trigger spring it was. I don't. It might have been a Yo Dave. I don't know. That's what everyone talks about. I can't remember what. No, it wasn't. I can't remember what it was. Doesn't matter. Just a lighter spring. So that's pretty much 1 pound 5 ounces is 1 pound 4, 1 pound 5 ounces. It's pretty much where I want it to. Now, that's the old spring, trigger spring, in the 457, and I changed it out for a high velocity hunting Australia trigger spring. Don't ask me what, I don't know what the actual weight of the spring, what it's rated at. I can't remember. I don't think it was even set it. With the beauty of the 457 is because the trigger is not, is not the bolt stop, it just slides straight in because you've got the Tika style bolt release. So there it is, she's cocked. This thing's still on, yes, clear, ready. Let's have a looky. That is 1 pound 13 ounces. Clear. You ready? Yeah, cock it again. Yeah, cock and open. They're both both bolts, even though they're quite different, they are both cock and opens. Okay, try it again. Or 2 pounds. What? No, that's not right. I think the way that I'm pulling it. Oh, this thing's loose, that's why. Okay, that's why. Difference. Okay. So that is 1 pound 11 ounces. A little bit heavier than the 455, but it's still quite light. That's still quite light. Now, I've got all the screws out. 1 pound 10.5 ounces. So you're looking at about 1 pound 11 ounces, which is still really, really light. I mean, if you actually, that's bugger all. Yeah, more than acceptable and nice. One of the other things about so I'll take the bolt out. So the bolt throw is, you can see how far away from the scope that is. You can really manipulate it, very easily. Whereas the old 455 and everything before it, a lot closer to the scope. So yeah, you're actually touching the scope with your hand or your fingers. Now, again, you've got to pull the trigger to pull the old 455 and all the models before that bolt out. With the 457, you just press the bolt release on the side and out she comes. Now, as far as how smooth they are out of the box, so this is quite a sort of subjective thing, I suppose. Let's see if it'll fall down. Yeah, that falls down on its own. Will the 455 fall down? Which, come on, you stupid thing. Will it fall down? Yes. So they're both smooth, alright? They're both quite smooth. In fact, I would give it to the 455. I would say that the 455 is just a little bit smoother. So there you go. So there's one to the 455. I'll give that one to the 455. Bolt smoothness. Alright, so that's about, what is it? 1, 2, 3, yeah, whatever. It's about 4 to 1, 5, 1, whatever. I'm not keeping score. Now, so I'll take the bolt out of that, and I'll take the bolt out of that. You'll notice that the bolt handle is actually the of where the bolts aren't that different in length, but just have a look where the bolt handles are. And the bolt is the bolt handle in the 457 is longer, so again, that's another good one for the 457. That's another one to the 457. But clearly the 457 is winning out. Now the actual triggers themselves. So the reason why the 455 trigger is lighter than the 457 trigger is because of the spring. Okay, because of the particular spring that I got. It's not because the 455 is lighter. And I like simplicity, so I never had a problem with. Sorry, I'm just pouring the rest of my beer. I never had a problem with the 455 trigger. Once you put that new spring in, it's excellent. So they did go with a more commercial style, complex. I don't want complexity. Complex trigger design. Now, to actually remove the spring, where's something to point with? Yeah, I'll point with that. To actually remove the spring, I had to remove that pivot pin. That's the trigger pivot pin. Now, the nasty buggers, what they've done is they've actually made it flush with the actual trigger housing, which looks like a cast affair, machined and then machined, cast and machined. And the pin itself, they've made it flush at both ends and then peened it so that to prevent you from removing the trigger and changing the spring. Now, the issue that I have with that, I think the claim is that you could reduce the weight of the spring down to, just make sure that's not fogging up. I had to put that camera in the oven to cook it, to get all the moisture out of it, because I tried to film this before and in about 5 minutes the lens was fogged up, so hopefully it doesn't fog up again. I've got to keep an eye on it, so that's why I keep looking at it like that. But anyway, so they pinned the pin over, the pivot pin over, so that you couldn't remove it and change the spring. Like I said, wouldn't be a problem if you could reduce the trigger to their claimed, I think, 2.5 pounds. I could not get it to 2.5 pounds. I removed those two screws. I completely removed them, so there was nothing impinging on the trigger as far as a weight limit, because that is the actual screw, that one there, that pushes the spring. Oh, sorry, that one there that actually pushes. I think that's travel. And that one is the actual where the spring is. So if you screw that in, it makes the spring heavier. If you screw that out, that's got a retaining nut. If you screw that out, it makes it lighter. Now I had them completely out, and I couldn't get the weight less than about 4 pounds, just under 4 pounds. Not good, CZ. That's rubbish. So as far as triggers are concerned, I actually prefer the 455 trigger. Okay. It's nice that the 457 does not employ the sear and therefore the trigger as the bolt stop when removing the bolt, because technically you can get the trigger a lot lighter with the 457 trigger, but the spring that I bought only put it down at 1 pound 11 ounces. So yeah, but that's damned light. Like, that's really light. Yeah, that's you can hardly perceive the difference. Yeah. All right, so yeah, it's much more complex trigger setup. As you can see, it's got crap everywhere. I don't like complex triggers. I like the Howard trigger. You know what? It's easy for you to just bitten the bullet and bought the design off Howard. It's a really basic, easy trigger. So now, and how I've gone the same way of limiting how much you can lighten it. Is that fogging up? No. Okay, now the actual magazine housings, let me have a look at them. They actually, I think, because I'll have to go and hunt down the old, because I've got an alloy one in the 455, so I'll just be back in a sec. Okay, I'm back. So that's, I've got an alloy bottom metal for the 455, which I did use, which is nice. I'll keep that. I won't put that in when I sell it. Let's see. So that is, okay. So that is, alright, so the old 455 mag housing is exactly the same as the 457, so that's the old 455 trigger spring. Okay, so they are completely interchangeable. So what I will do is that I will now change them. Now that was a pain in the ass. There's actually a plate, you can't see it, inside the old 455. The magazine goes in, no problems. Which you got to line up when you put the mag well on. So that's the cheap shit plastic mag well on there. Now I'll put the, where is it? Oops, wrong one. I'll put the much nicer, and that's the nice thing about the, has that got the same affair? Let me have a look. Let me have a look if they retain that stupidity. Well, it's not stupidity, it's just complexity. Crank that up a bit higher. And yes, they have. But is it just loose? Yes, it is. So that setup is exactly the same. Yeah, you got to line it. You got to line it up in there and line up the holes, and yeah, not much change there. So the magwell design and setup is exactly the same. Okay, so now I have my alloy magwell. Luckily the magwells are exactly the same, which I suspected, if the magazines are exactly the same. So now I have my, hide my ugly head, I have my alloy magwell in the 457. Let's check. Yep, all good. Now, what else? So, the action on the 457 is a bit more slab-sided. It's had the sides machined off, whereas the action on the old 455s and previous ones was perfectly round cylinder. Let's have a look if they are the same diameter. 23.25. 20, 30. Okay, 30. Yes, that's the old was 30 mil. Let me check the round on this. So 20.99. So yeah, roughly. But with the slab sides, it's a bit thinner, 27. So about 3 mil thinner, or maybe more. Yeah, not much different. It doesn't mean anything. Let's see. What other differences are there? I think, looking at it realistically, the major differences are, number one, the trigger is completely different. Well, that's bright. Number two, the bolt is completely different. Number three, the bottom metal is completely different. What else is completely different? Yeah. The actual, let's see, how big is the ejection port? Are they any different? Are they any different? It's 36. The ejection port on the 457 is a little bit bigger, a couple of mil bigger. Yeah. What else? The actual bolt throw itself, how far you cycle it forward and back is, my understanding, is different. So let's just put this in. So that is, I'll try and measure it and tell you what the difference is. So I'll measure it from, from closed, so it's there, to all the way back, you're looking at a throw of about 31 millimeters. Let's measure it again. Sorry, I mean, about 43 millimeters. So that bolt travel is about 43 millimeters on the old 455. Now let's have a look on the 457 what the travel is, because my understanding is it's been reduced. They reduced that with the new bolt design. Oh yeah, it's quite noticeable. So from there. It's actually, it's actually, there. There's no difference. I thought it was shorter. No. It's 43 millimeters. Okay. There you go. No difference there. Oh, I thought there was a difference. So, yeah. It's only the vertical handle throw that is different. The actual bolt travel itself, I just measured it, it's 43 millimeters on both. So there are claims that it's shorter. I can't see it. There you go. So I'll add a little bit more beer. So I did go to the range and I did shoot the 457 again, testing ammunition accuracy and that, and nothing spectacular. The winners were the Hornady VMAX did perform well. The Federal, it had a lot of flyers. The VMAX did too, but it was a lot more consistent. The Federal V-Shock, whatever it is, what's it called? Federal V-Shock. It was alright. The Hornady XTP, it was okay. Did some weird stringing, like I've got one string that's vertical, I've got one string that's, I don't know. It tends to string vertically. Yeah. The Winchester, a lot of flies with the Winchester, and you got to remember, I weighed all these projectiles and sorted them in lots, in weights. I mean, there was a massive difference in weights, but obviously there's obviously an inconsistency in weight of the ammo, whether it's projectile, powder, primer, case. Who knows? Could be one or some or all of them. I don't know. The CCI full metal jackets were pretty good. In fact, out of all, they were probably the pick of the lot. So I was able to get another 100 from the two gun shops that I go to. The CCI Game Point, pretty loose. The CCI VMAX, it was alright. Nothing spectacular. So the Hornady VMAX and the CCI full metal jacket. I shot the CCI VMAX again and it was a lot better. Still had some flyers. I'm not going to show you. You're looking at about an inch on average, or just under or just over. But the pick of the bunch was, I haven't got it here, was CCI full metal jacket and Hornady VMAX, 17 grain VMAX. So that's the two pretty much that's what I went with previously. They're the two that I'm going to be looking to from now on. This is sorry, it's been a long video, but I did want to do a comparison of the rifles. And I have to say the 457 definitely wins out. I think it's definitely an improvement. It looks better. It's a better design. Yeah, it's a significant leap forward with bolt design. Having alloy pillars in the stock. I mean, that is definitely an improvement, having alloy pillars in the stock. I don't know if I'll go as far as bedding it, but I don't know. If it's pillar bedded, it should be okay, but there is still a bit of play because I've had when I originally first got it, the barrel was slightly canted in the to the left in the barrel channel. I actually managed to reseat it so that it was dead center in the. So that means there's a fair bit of play there. So I think I will bet it. Now, so overall, the winner is the 457. The 45. There's nothing wrong with the 455. You know, there really isn't. What I might do is I might actually change out the sling swivels out of the 455 stock and put them in the 457 stock. If the holes are the same size, and I would assume they will be, I'll swap them over. Yeah, or maybe not. Maybe I'll just leave it. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. So, all in all, if you're thinking about buying the 457, buy it. It's not a cheap rifle. The 457 American, it's not a cheap rifle, but there's a significant leap forward in evolution as far as the CZs are concerned. No doubt about that. So that's pretty much all for now. See you later.